How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike The Pig Crum. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad I did not have to host. I'm not good at it. And so I'm glad that you're back and feeling well because I could kind of peek over at the game and see the score and relay it to you guys as we're talking.
Well, Mike, if you had hosted one more time, I don't think I'd be coming back to a job, sir.
I'm terrible. What are you talking about? You'd have got higher pay. I'm like the worst ever. My show sheet was I was literally apologizing to our guests like, dude, this is normally way more professional. This guy does a way show sheet. I threw it together in my phone notes in like an hour. It was, man, I am bad. I'm the worst.
Hey, brother, don't be too hard on yourself, man. It looks great, Mike. I appreciate you attempting to fill the void.
I tried until work happened.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Life happens, but hey, here we are now. Mike, where can we find you on Twitter?
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. Well, here we are with week 1 of the NFL season and with the third season of Mike and I series, Offsides with Paul and Mike. For our new listeners, Offsides is a series where Mike and I bring on a fan of the team that the Cowboys are playing that week. This week, the Cowboys are playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And our guest is not only a Buccaneers fan, he's a writer for Razzball and co-host of the Fantasy Besties podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome JB Berry to the podcast. JB, how are you?
I'm doing great, Paul. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be part here. And Mike, you're really selling yourself short, man. You might have thrown that together on your phone, but that was some detailed show notes and show sheet you sent me, man. I'm prepared thanks to that sheet. So you're selling yourself short. You did a great job.
Thank you, man. I try to, the truth is, this guy does all the work. I talk 95% of the time. And so everybody's like, oh man, Mike knows his stuff. He's great. And I'm like, no, it's the other one. It's him over there.
It's always nice when you have a co-host that can just put it on the tee for you and just let you knock it out the park, right?
He's the best host I could ask for. He's amazing.
I appreciate that, guys. JB, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Fantasy Coach JB over on Twitter. And like you said, I'm on Razzball and the Fantasy Besties podcast.
Yes, sir. All right, well, JB, let's get after it. I'm curious, how did you become a Bucs fan and when did your fandom begin?
Well, growing up, I really didn't have a football team. I'm a New Yorker. I grew up, born and raised in New York. So I had no desire to be a Giant or a Jet fan. So in that 90s era, like mid-90s, I just fell in love with that Warren Sapp-led Tampa Bay defense, and I just took him and I said, you know what, this is that hard-nosed defense. This is the type of football I enjoy watching, and I loved watching that team, and I just stuck with them. And we had, good years back then. We had some bad years after that, and now I get to ride the highs again for a little while. But Bucs fan through and through since the mid-90s.
And that answer might have answered my question because you're talking about the highs. And I look at Tampa right now. I consider the O-line injuries. Most of them are for the whole season. The retirements, the loss of free agents, Brady's age. I mean, at some point, right? I mean, golly, the guy was unbelievable last year. And no Gronk. The coaches switched out. Are the Bucs real contenders this year? As a fan, do you see them as, no, we can win it all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, look, anytime you have, one of the greatest of all time leading the team, you're going to be a contender. And yes, he is getting up there in age, but he's still got weapons on that team. And, you talk about Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, now the additional Julio Jones, even Russell Gage. Like, you're adding pieces that are making up for losing Gronk. Like, Gronk played a big factor, but Gronk was also a fantastic blocker. They brought in Kyle Rudolph, who might not be Gronk, but he's a phenomenal blocker, so he could do that blocking. We have a phenomenal defense, too. We have one of the best linebacker tandems in the league. We got a great front seven, so of course we're going to be a contender. Now, there are going to be pains. You mentioned the offensive line injuries. That's going to hurt, especially losing Ryan Jensen. He was the anchor, the glue piece to that O-line. So it's going to be a little bit of a rocky season. And, I'm sure we'll get into where I think the record will end up. And I think it's going to be a rocky road, but we're certainly going to be a contender.
JB, the Bucs are fortunate to have one of the best quarterbacks of all time there. leading the team this year. But it's been a unique offseason for Brady. At one point he retires, then he comes back, then he misses an extended period of time during training camp, which is something that you don't often see players do. Are there any concerns about Brady this season?
I'm concerned. I had a little concern in the offseason, right? But a guy at Brady's level doesn't really need the offseason. And when you kind of dig a little deeper and peel the onion back a little bit and you realize, okay, maybe they had a planned family vacation when he retired, and when they accepted him coming back, he said, hey, look, I got to go here with my family, or, the rumors about it being Dancing with the Stars, or like whatever the prior obligations might have been. If that was part of the conversation with him coming back, it's like, all right, he wasn't going to play in the preseason game anyway. He doesn't really need the reps out there anymore. So I'm not that concerned about that. I think once he hits the field, he's Tom Brady. His mind is going to be 100% in on football and what's going on between the lines there. So I'm not concerned about that once he hits the field.
So question, follow up on that. You still got Brady. You have the weapons. But do you believe this team's led more by its offense now or by its defense? And is it good or bad if that has switched from offense to defense?
It's a great question, because I think it is in the process of changing, but it's not really there. I think the organization's doing a great job of saying, okay, Tom Brady's leading this team right now. We know, like we've talked about, Tom Brady's not going to be here forever. So we're bringing in these young pieces on the defense that are the anchors of that defense, and it's kind of balancing it out, right? So you had Brady Evans, this whole offensive-led team, and then you're bringing in these young kids on defense that are here, and now they're starting to be leaders. Now they're starting to bring the defense up. Well, maybe Brady slips a little bit. Maybe you lose Gronk. So now it's starting to get closer to even, and I think it makes it so that when Brady does decide to retire, boom, that switch is flipped, and that defense can take over, because you got young guys on that defense that are capable of doing that. But for this year, anytime you have Tom Brady on the field, he's your leader.
Yeah, when you look at these matchups, it's a little different than what we saw last year. Which matchup worries you more, JB? Is it Dak throwing against the Buccaneers DBs, or the Cowboys pass rush against this injured Buccaneers offensive line?
I think if you guys had a little bit more in your pass rush, I'd be more concerned about that. But I'm really concerned about Dak picking apart the secondary. The secondary played above their heads in our Super Bowl run. Then last year they came back to earth a little bit, and they showed their vulnerability. Now we do have solid pieces in Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, but they're beatable. And Sean Murphy-Bunting showed that in the slot he can certainly be beat. So I am concerned that a quarterback at Dak's level, another year recovered from the injury. As a fantasy analyst, I love Dak this year. So I think this is a good matchup and a good secondary for Dak to throw against. So that would be my biggest concern.
Interesting.
All right. So, man, this is a question here that I want to ask an opposing fan, that knows the game and everything. So when you hear Jerry Jones say the Cowboys go as Zeke goes, and you're a fan of the opposing team, your reaction is what to that statement?
As a Bucs fan, it's awesome, because we're great at stopping the run. I mean, we got guys like Vita Vea, Will Golston, even Akeem Hicks now is the new addition. They're geared up to stop the run, and they're phenomenal at doing that. Will Golston has a 10-year career now of being a phenomenal run stopper, and you don't talk about him when you talk about the Bucs front seven. Nobody, outside of guys that really watch the game, know who Will Golston is, but he's a phenomenal run stopper, and he's made a career out of that. Vita Vea is just a hulk of a human being in the middle of that defensive line. So if you're going to tell me that you're going to try to run against us and win the game, good luck with that. I'd love to hear it.
Man, Vita Vea, I desperately wanted him to be a Cowboy, man.
Me too. He was
the
guy. I was honest to God, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was happy he was drafted before us, because I would have went, how you're old school, you played Nintendo and you'd keep losing and you'd break your controller. And as you got older, you stopped doing that because controllers cost $60. I'd have took an old controller and threw it if Vita Vea was there and we didn't draft him.
Yeah.
I was
I know.
very happy with that pick, so I'm glad we got him.
Absolutely. We, still sticking with this matchup thoughts here. Is there, when you look at these teams, which teams' O-line troubles will be exploited more by the opposing defense? Do you think, JB?
Probably yours, because I think that we can bring pressure in so many different ways with so many different guys, right? So, Shaq Barrett, Joe Tryon on the outsides, we talked about the linebackers who can come and several different type of blitz packages. And then, like I said, Akeem Hicks coming over as a new guy in the middle of that defense. I think that, we can attack an offense from so many different ways with that talented front seven that I think that it probably will pose a little bit more of a problem for you guys. I am obviously a little bit concerned with our offensive line problems, but I love and I can't wait to watch the Tristan Wirfs and Lawrence battle it out there. I mean, I think that's going to be a good matchup. If Lawrence can get the better of Wirfs, then we're going to be in some trouble. But I think that the two of them should probably go head-to-head pretty nicely, and that might neutralize your pass rush a little bit.
Question. If nowadays, damn, it's so hard because of how good he is at it. But the ability to be mobile when the offensive line is bad and get out of the pocket the way Dak can versus the unbelievably elite quick release of Tom Brady, but where he's going to be. Which one do you think has an advantage coming up?
It's going to depend. And if we're talking specifically this matchup, probably Dak being able to get out of the pocket. I think over the course of the season, again, as a fantasy analyst, I love Brady's ability to get the ball out quickly, especially adding guys like Julio Jones and Russell Gage that can get open quickly. He's going to have a lot of 3-step drops, get the ball out quick. I think Leftwich will try to, maybe roll him right a little bit because that's where we have better protection with Wirfs. But today, this week in this matchup, I think Dak's ability to get out of the pocket if the offensive line breaks down, that's going to definitely benefit you, because then again, that secondary that I'm already saying might be susceptible to getting beat is now going to have to keep an eye on Dak while getting beat by their wide receiver. So I think in this matchup, Dak has that advantage.
That is a tough one, man. Brady's so good at getting the ball away quick. On the other hand, our defense a little bit better at jumping routes and causing turnovers. So yeah, I can see where you'd go. Dax is less chance of like something happening, a big play happening the other way.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so here's another. I love this question. Which player are you more worried could take over a game against you guys specifically? Dak Prescott or Micah Parsons?
Dak Prescott. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. So, with it being a high-scoring game, I'm going to be more concerned about the quarterback. And again, I like the matchup for Dak. I think, we just talked about his mobility, so he could do it in multiple ways. My concern would be Dak this week.
I love the respect. To be honest, when I put that question together, I really expected a lot of Micah Parsons, the hip thing going right now. So I expected a lot of, Micah Parsons, he's, it's his second year. He basically was all world his first year. He's going to take a second year jump and everybody's going to freak out. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, but we got a guy that was an MVP 7 weeks in last year before he got a calf strain on the, on the leg that wasn't hurt, So I like that the first offsides person we got is versus a good defense too, and you went with Dak. I like that. That's nice.
Well, you also got to think about it too. As great as Micah Parsons is, Tom Brady knows that too. Tom Brady watched him last year. Tom Brady's watched the film. So Tom Brady's going to be looking at Micah Parsons on every play and trying to figure out what he's going to be doing. So, you're playing chess there between Brady and Parsons. I'm a little bit more concerned about what Dak could do without having Brady against him on the other side of the line.
Shameless plug. I just put out an article today with Cowboys Wire talking about the key matchups. And the second one I had was basically Micah Parsons' ability versus Tom Brady's brain. So
nice.
Yeah, we're right on point, me and you, with that matchup.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, I'm curious though. When you think about Parsons versus Brady, I mean, do you think it's a pretty even matchup there, JB, or do you think Brady still has the advantage just because of age and experience?
I think he'll be able to take advantage of the youth of Parsons, right? And maybe, play some head games with him, trick him into something. But Parsons can make up for that with his athleticism and with his just natural talent and ability. So I think, as an old head myself, you like to think that it's the age and the brain will play out over the talent, but man, it's going to be close. It's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely.
I really, really, as a Cowboys fan, and I'm not one that does this often, but I would really like to see Micah Parsons be a pass rusher from different areas at almost every play. I can let the other people cover. I want Brady having to worry about this O-line versus Parsons every pass rush play, every play coming downfield at him.
I don't, Mike. I don't.
You want him in coverage. Yeah.
All right, JB, we know you're a Tampa fan, but let's just say you're stepping over to the Cowboys sideline, okay? And you're being asked how are you going to beat Tampa if you were being paid to beat Tampa? What would your approach be?
So good question. On both sides of the ball. So, if I'm on the Cowboys sideline, when we're on defense, we need to bring pressure hard up the middle. Now, obviously, we talked about the offensive line changes. You got 2 new guards from last year's team, and now you lost Ryan Jensen, the center, who was the glue to that offensive line. So you got to bring pressure up the middle, and you bring it, like Mike was just talking about, you bring it in different ways. You bring it with different people. So I think that's the key, because once you get Brady uncomfortable, then you start getting cranky Brady. So if Brady's not able to do what he wants to do, then he starts getting mad. Then he starts throwing the ball away. Then he starts hemming and hawing on his way down back to the sideline. So when you get cranky Brady, then that's when his level of play goes down a little bit. So on the defensive side of the ball, pressure up the middle and bring it all game long. On the offensive side of the ball, I tell you to move CD Lamb around. Let him operate out of the slot against Sean Murphy-Bunting. Now, obviously not completely out of the slot, because he's got to play outside. He's shown success on the outside as well. But don't let him and Carlton Davis just go one-on-one with each other, because Carlton Davis likes to step up in those types of matchups. Move him around a little bit in the formation. Let him see different matchups. Let him see different coverage, different corners. Maybe bring him inside one-on-one against Murphy-Bunting where you don't have a safety over the top. That's where you can utilize CD Lamb and get him open and take advantage of the secondary.
Does Turpin worry you at all? Do you know who Turpin is?
Turpentine?
Cavante Turpin, the USFL MVP that the Cowboys picked up to be a returner and kind of a trick play guy. Do you know the name when I say it? Are you like,
No, I've heard the name, and I play in a couple of fantasy leagues where you get points for returns and crazy leagues where like you're drafting return men in like the 4th round. Guys like Ray McLeod are like, I got to get Ray McLeod. And it's like, huh? So yes, I have heard the name. I do know his explosive ability. Our special teams has never been really a strength of ours. So that's something that could turn a game around, right? When we've talked about a lot of these even matchups, offense versus defense, line versus line, quarterback versus linebackers. A lot of this conversation we've had is about how even this matchup might be. And now we're sitting back and we're going, well, what could be an X factor? That could be an X factor. That could be something that just puts you over the top, gives you that extra cushion, and something that Bucs might not be able to come back from. So am I worried about it? No, but it's back here in the back of my mind.
I was wondering about that because he's he had that one preseason game, but he's not known. So I wanted to see if another fan knew. Now, question: if it wasn't for people taking him in fantasy, had you heard about him? Like, oh shit, we got to watch this guy week 1. Pardon my language, but we got to watch this guy week 1. He could be a weapon, or was it like, hey, this guy's getting taken a lot in fantasy. Let me see what this is about, this Turpin guy.
You know what? Honestly, if I wasn't in those type of leagues, I probably wouldn't look at it as a factor until I really dove deep into the matchup. And, I've been so wrapped up in drafting 30 some odd teams the last couple of weeks that I haven't fully dove into the Bucs matchup itself. So, I didn't start looking at the second the second and third level type players, the special teams type players, and what could be the X factor. But now you open my eyes to it, Mike. Thanks.
30 teams?
32 last I counted.
That's why you're fantasy coach JB, man. Damn.
JB, are those best ball? Oh, sorry, Mike.
No, please.
13 of the 32 are managed. The rest are best ball.
Okay.
So it makes it a little bit more manageable. The problem is, and I was trying to explain this to one of my friends yesterday, is like once you get into the industry and you're in like, you know, different fantasy circles, you're asked about all these different charity leagues. And how do you say no to charity leagues? You know, someone's like, hey, we're doing a best ball for this great cause. Okay, sure. I'll throw $20-$30 towards a great cause. And yeah, I'll draft a team and hopefully it's best ball. And then, you know, I'm going to stay to 5 managed teams this year. Okay, I got to 8. Let's stay at 8. Oh, all right. I'm at 12 now. All right, 13. Well, what's one more?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have something towards to say about that as we end the show. That's something that's important. So that's a good lead into that with charity and helping people out. The most important player not named Tom Brady on the Bucs is
Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith, our left tackle, is the guy who protects Tom Brady's blind side. So we've already talked about the trouble on the interior of the offensive line. We've talked about Tristan Wirfs being a strength at right tackle. Donovan Smith is the key at left tackle. If Tom Brady's blind side is not protected and he's getting pressure up the middle, we're in a lot of trouble. And if we can't keep Tom Brady on the field, go back to that question about us being contenders. Yeah, we're not contenders anymore. So Donovan Smith had a very challenging beginning to his career. I mean, we Bucs fans just wanted him gone so badly. And something clicked when Tom Brady came over. And I don't know if it was Tom meeting up with him when he came over, you know, shaking him and saying, look, I'm Tom Brady. You need to keep me upright. And him kind of stepping up to the challenge because he has played better since Brady has arrived. So I think he's the biggest key to this team because he's that blindside protection.
All right, JB. Well, we know last year's matchup was a high-scoring affair. This year, we've discussed how things are a little different. What's your score prediction?
I think it's going to be pretty similar. You know, it was a high-scoring game. I think it was 31-29 last year. I'm going to go 31-27 this year with Dallas being the winners.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, wow. Picking the Cowboys. And why? Put an explanation by help 2 Cowboys fans who haven't seen them win a big game against a great quarterback in a while. Tell us why you're picking Dallas to beat Tampa.
So I put a tweet out there last week that I think it's going to be a rough start for Bucs fans. I think the schedule that we have to start the season is tough. I think we're adjusting to a new coaching, not really a new coaching staff because they came from within, but a new head coach. Things did change in the coaching staff. And the offensive line we talked about, you know, now you don't have guys that have gelled together and, you know, guys have continued to get hurt throughout the preseason. So you still got guys that weren't even there the whole preseason in the starting lineup that are now trying to gel with the other guys. So I think it's going to be a challenging start this season. I think you'll get enough pressure to make Brady uncomfortable. And I think Dak's going to make enough plays to get you over the top. I think it's going to be a really fun and exciting game to start week 1 for us, or to end week 1 for us pretty much. But I think you guys are going to end up coming out on top, unfortunately.
What about you, Paul? You got a score prediction?
No, I don't. I was looking at the show sheet. I saw this was for JB, and I'm like, okay. I don't know why I didn't think to give one for myself. I thought this was only for JB, so I didn't.
Well, this is on the fly. Pick a damn winner and tell us why and what the score is. Let's go.
All right. If I have to pick on the fly, I'm going to go 28-21. I'm going to go Dallas.
All right. Both y'all. All right. So let's go to the next question.
Oh, Mike, what's yours now?
Don't even see what he tried to do there.
I'm going to go 23-20 Tampa Bay. I got to see Dallas win one of these before. I really trust Micah Parsons. I think he could be one of those that's like, I was telling Paul earlier, the way Aaron Donald just said, nope, y'all ain't going to win this at the end in the Super Bowl. I feel like we finally have a guy that could, even against Tom Brady, might be able to go, nah, y'all ain't winning. I'm going to make a play. But I want to see it first. Like, what have they done to make Mike McCarthy ain't won an opener with us? You know, Dak's lost both with he's played great. He's came down and done his job, but the defense is giving it up. And as good as our defense is, you're still going against Tom Brady at the end. Yeah. And so I think it'll be close, 20-23, something like that. Maybe it's 17 to 20, and they come down and score a touchdown to win it 24-20. But I'm going to say 23-20 Bucks.
But if you guys have the ball last, as long as the referee doesn't get in the way, you might have a chance.
All right, that's the thing. The referee always gets in the way, JB. Come on, man. You know
every damn time, man. I swear. The holdings and everything. So what? Okay, you got them starting 0-1, but what's your overall prediction for the season record for Tampa?
So I think what I put in my tweet was that we're going to start the season 1-4, and Bucs fans are going to panic, and people are going to worry. Is this the end of Tom Brady? And then they're going to run off 5 straight, and we're going to be 6-4 going into the bye week 11. I think we finish the season. It could be either 10-7 or 11-8. I'm going to lean 10-7. I think we still make the playoffs. We probably still win the division. I think New Orleans is going to be better this year too. So we're going to be battling them neck and neck for the division. It's really going to come down to that stretch we have, weeks 14 to 16. And if we're healthy, you know, we have San Fran, Cincinnati, Arizona, those 3 weeks. That's going to be really telltale for us. If we end up 10-7 and making the playoffs, or 11-8 and making the playoffs, or if we're not healthy for that stretch, we could miss the playoffs. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not going to go that far.
Yeah. That schedule is brutal, and I swear on everything, if we beat Tampa Bay and they start off 1-4, and I got to hear about how Dallas just beat the crappy Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I might lose my shit, dude. If I got to hear crappy Buccaneers,
just wait until we go 6-4 into the bye, and then you could be like, see, they weren't that crappy.
We
have a good stretch in the middle.
You don't know Dallas fans. Now if they played them, they get beat. See, they weren't the same team as they are now. They will find a way. Oh, it's tough sometimes. It's tough.
Yeah, JB, I don't know how much you know about Cowboys Twitter, but man, it's a miserable bunch, dude.
Well, I know it, dude, because Bucks Twitter hasn't been better before, a couple years ago. We were just, we've been that dumpster team for a long time, and I've had to ride that out. And you guys are a lot better than that. So it's just, it's you know what it is with Cowboys fans? You guys just got so used to winning and being America's team and being at the top of the hill that if you're not all the way up there, you got something to complain about.
Dude, imagine if half your fan base was like, nah, dude, Tom Brady ain't really that great. Like, that's what we like. Y'all really don't think Dak Prescott is like a winning can win games and
a franchise quarterback?
Yeah.
But that's top down. That's Jerry's fault. Jerry put the doubt in everybody's head. If Jerry came out and showed his commitment to Dak and how much he loved Dak and how much, he was behind Dak, then Cowboys fans might have followed suit. But there was that doubt, and it started from the top.
I agree 100%. Bad front office. They're bad with they did it to Tank, too. Tank Lawrence, one of the best defensive ends in football. And just so you guys know, Buffalo's up 24-10 and just picked the ball off.
Oh, wow.
That's what Stafford does, dude. They may come back and win, but that guy's going to throw 3 interceptions.
His arm is not all there, man. He's been dealing with the arm issue, and you could tell just watching the first half. You could tell it's not all there.
He's sailing balls.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't mean to get us off on a tangent. Just a thing, but yeah, Jerry's. They do some things really well. Credit to them, but they do a lot of things bad, and one of them is signing their own players, and they get people that dislike DeMarcus Lawrence, who's like one of the hardest working, toughest defensive ends in football, and a top 10 quarterback, and people think Andy Dalton was going to come in and be better, which just blows my mind.
Yep.
Well, hey, JB, I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight. I know it was not a smooth process getting up to this point, sir. Before we get you out of here, let the people know what kind of content you're producing this season and where we can find it.
Yeah, so you can find my written content over at Razzball. I'll be doing a weekly DFS article over there. It'll come out, I think every Friday is when we're going to launch it so that you can set your DFS lineups for Sunday's main slate. Also be co-hosting the Fantasy Besties podcast. It's a great show with 5 of us that actually met through Scott Fishbowl. It's myself, Kevin Tompkins, Andrew Cooper, Lindellians, and Jordan Loop. And it's a great show where we just really recap Sunday football, talk about waiver ads, look forward into Monday Night Football, and just really just laugh, have a good time, talk football, and just shenanigans. So we'll be getting that going again next Monday. Excited about that. It's actually going to be hosted over on Razzball as well, on their YouTube page, and
Nice.
it'll be on their website as well. So you can find me on Twitter at FantasyCoachJB. DMs are always open and always looking to talk football. I appreciate you guys having me on, and thanks for reaching out.
Hey, the pleasure was all mine, man. Thank you again for coming on. Mike, remind the people they can find you on Twitter, sir.
It's at CD Piglet, and I have a request for everybody that listens to this. I have a pinned tweet on at CD Piglet. There's one of our Cowboys Nation, literally at Cowboys Nation. His name's Mike. It's having some health issues. We're sending out a one of the things where you can donate money. I donated 25. Dalton Miller, who you guys all know, has donated 100. They've gotten, I know for sure, over 2,500 towards the 6,000 goal so far. I was working today. Even if you got no money, share it somewhere. Go to my pinned tweet, share it, share the link. He's a really good guy and a really good content creator and a really good follow on Twitter. And I just want everybody to help him as much as possible in the family. So thank you guys. And JB, thank you for coming on. It was great. And you picked Dallas. I love you for that. And I move to the side and let them see the old school Tampa Bay helmet, please. Look at that helmet.
The creamsicle,
awesome.
baby.
Signed by Mike Evans, he told us as well. So awesome,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Thank you for coming on.
Yo, thanks for having me. This is a great way to end my birthday. I got to tell you, like I was talking to you guys beforehand, like this was the calmest part of my birthday, and I get to come on and talk football to end my 39th birthday. So thank you guys for that.
And look out, we got you done in about 30 minutes. And I can run an hour because I talk
Lord.
way too much. But I got you out because I knew you had your birthday, and now you can go out, watch the game, and celebrate some more.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.